how you doing? Happy Christmas Eve, and I would like to apologize for any background noise. I am struggling to find a place I can record. So, this is going to be What If Deku Was the Reincarnation of Kronos, Part 3. Normally I would do a reread What If, but I'd have to read off my computer, and I just don't feel like reading my script right now. So I will be doing a minus one. I believe where we left off in the last video was Deku finding a flyer for UA after saving a girl, or helping her save herself. Deku decided to go back home and read over the flyer. While he's reading over it, he's thinking, do I go to the school? I understand that my parents probably would have wanted me to, but this society's never done anything for me. As he's doing this, he pulls out the map he got when he was a kid. He sees the location marked, and because he is older now, he understands that this is a place in the city. He grabs the map, puts on his hoodie, and walks to the location map. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Okay, so he's walking to the location on the map that's marked. As he arrives, it's a pub. He walks in, sits down, and asks for some scotch. He sees a man with a smoker head. He starts having a conversation. It goes on for about half an hour, and as he's doing this, Korigiri laughs. If you didn't know, this is Korigiri. Smokehead, pub, yeah. Korigiri laughs and says, one second, I just go to something. Korigiri laughs and says, you're a pretty cool guy. So, is it your first time in the city? Deku asks, why do you think that? Well, you don't look like someone who comes around a lot. Deku says, no, I live here. I'm just not too comfortable around here. Korigiri thinks about this and says, so what's your quirk? So he says, so what's your quirk? Deku says, I was diagnosed quirkless as a kid. Korigiri being a villain, not really caring, considering he's not going to know this man for very much longer, because he's just going to leave his bar and not come back. Or he will come back, and Korigiri just won't be working a shift. Korigiri continues to talk to him as Deku pulls out the map and says, do you know what this is? Korigiri looks at it, his glowing eyes widen, and say, where'd you get this? I got it when I was a kid, about 16 years ago. Maybe 18. I stopped counting. Trying to think where to bring the story now. Korigiri says, well, since you are the one who brought it to me, the master will see you. Korigiri brings him to All For One, and All For One says, wow, doctor, you finally arrived. As Korigiri leaves, Deku is there to talk with All For One. As they're talking, All For One says, you're not the doctor, are you? Deku says, No, but I could be, depending on what your situation is. Was it an illness from birth? All for One says, I don't have an illness. I was dealt physical damage. Deku thinks, for the right price, I'll heal it. All for One turns around and says, you think you can heal this injury? Deku, seeing his shattered skull, and says, what's your quirk? Depending on what you can do for me, I might be able to. All for One smiles and says, I can take other people's superpowers, or quirks. So, if you don't want yours to be taken, I suggest you heal me. Deku walks up to him and puts his hand on his head. Take it. All for One does, and then realizing he can't take this boy's quirk. Fine. But because I can't take your quirk, I offer you this. I will give you a quirk that will make you stand in society rather than this so-called healing ability. I'll give you... I have to think about this for a second. Alright, so it took me a second to think of this, but I'm gonna go with ice manipulation, like Sub-Zero's, except it's still gonna be way stronger. So, All for One says, fine, in return for you healing me, I'll give you the ability to use a very powerful ice. You can call it cryomancy. Deku thinks about this and says, deal. Deku reverses time on All for One, and his face is healed. All for One smiles and says, finally I can get off this goddamn what's it called? Life support. He rips the wires off and says, well, a deal's a deal, boy. He gives Deku incredibly strong cryomancy, like Todoroki except stronger. When he does this, he says, I hope we stay in contact with each other. You could be a very powerful asset to me. Deku shakes his hand and says, I don't think so, but maybe once or twice. All for One smiles and says, as long as I have you as a contact, I'm fine with that. So where will you be going? Well, I feel like my mother, my birth mother, would want me to be someone she could respect. So, even though I have associated with you, someone I'm assuming is a very powerful villain, I'm going to become a hero. All for One looks at him in disapproval. Well, with abilities like yours, you'll become a hero, but I will kill you if you do. Deku says, you can try. But remember, I healed you. I can take it away too. All for One doesn't look like... with All for One's new form, he doesn't want to get rid of it. So he lets Deku leave. Thinking that boy's gonna be someone troublesome. But then Deku thinks, I don't really need this ability. I just wanted to make him think that I could do something I couldn't. I forgot where he was. My sister walked in the room. Okay, so I'm pretty sure he was at the point where he's walking out and saying he thinks he can get away with something he doesn't want to do, and you also want to make All for One afraid of him. Because well-established contacts can be useful. He grabs the flyer, and for 2 years he attends the high school as Izuku Midoriya, someone unknown to the rest of the class. For some reason has really high grades, and his quirk name is registered as cryomancy, ice manipulation. Bakugo, the first day of school, Bakugo walks up to him and says, hey, listen here, I'm the king of the school. If If you think you can you think you can challenge me, go ahead, but you will lose. Deku looks up at him, his green eyes glowing, and says, "Piss off." Bakugo thinking, who does this kid think he is? I've run this school for years. He grabs Deku's notebook and attempts to throw it out the window. When his skin hardens and is cold, he's frozen solid. Deku grabs his notebook as it unthaws and unfreezes Bakugo. Deku says, touch my shit again, and I'll break your arm. Bakugo has a chill go down his spine, and goosebumps appear on him. He thinks to himself, I'll blow this fucker up. But he can't produce sweat. He's too cold. And Deku looks at it and says, oh, I'm sorry. Did you need something? As Bakugo backs up, Deku sits back down and prepares for class. The rest of the day, nothing happens. And that's around all that happens for 2 years. And then the last day of school, Deku takes an alleyway because he's going to the supermarket. Okay, I'll say he's going to the supermarket. He goes under a bridge and he's in deep thought, thinking about whether or not he should go to UA. Because the scene where everybody was doing their papers, where the teacher threw them up in the air, and the teacher threw the papers up in the air. That scene. He's thinking about it, whether or not he should go to UA. Deku blows it off and says, it's my choice. I don't care what anybody think. I will be a hero. As that happens, the sludge villain attacks and tries to suffocate Deku. But before it even touches him, it's frozen solid. Deku uses his ice to condense him into a marble, like Mr. Compress. And he brings it to the police and says, here, this is the sludge villain. I'm assuming he's wanted. When this breaks, he'll expand very quickly. So if I were you, I'd put him in a container. They take the marble and let the boy go, naming the crime self-defense. He never meets All Might, but All Might did see everything happen. He's impressed with the boy. I'm not being impressed with Deku, but blowing it off is a really strong quirk. For the 9 months, Deku's relaxing, not needing to read up on anything or train. One day he's walking past an orphanage, thinking, that could have been me. They could have thrown me in there and set off a bridge. But they didn't. They tried to kill me. And I don't forgive them. As he's thinking this, he sees a little girl getting kicked in the back. Getting kicked in the back of the orphanage. In the area. As she's getting beat up, Deku walks over and says, what are you doing? The kids look up and say, nothing, kid, nothing, old man, scram. Old man, for one, I'm 18, for two, you're beating up a little girl, and I'm not gonna let you. Let's say the kids beating her up were around 6 and she was 4. Yeah, let's go with that. After them kicking her one last time, Deku grabs the kids and throws them into the orphanage. Then walks out and says, what are you doing, sir? None of your business, but I am adopting this little girl. And now we're got a picture of a little girl. Okay, this is the little girl that was getting kicked. He picks her up and says, I'm adopting this little girl. And I'm hesitant to do it, but says, she's quirkless, so I don't really care that much. So she doesn't really care that much. She's a quirkless little girl. Deku, she doesn't care very much. She says, fine. She'll die in a week anyway under your care. Deku says, you want to bet? I'll send you a picture of her in a week. Sun says, no need. I already know the outcome. Deku doesn't care at this point. He just says, I'm adopting her. I don't need any papers. Just tell the city that she died of unknown causes. The nun, not really caring about the girl at all, says, fine. Deku takes her home and tells her, you can eat whatever you want, but you will have good grades. And I hear it. Deku touches her on the back and says, here you go. She's wondering what happened. He asks him, what'd you do? Deku's saying, I gave you a quirk. She's looking at him in awe and saying, funny, mister, but no, you can't do that. Deku's saying, yes, I can. I've got many quirks over the years. And one of them was called distribute. Someone thought they were quirkless, but really they had a quirk that would make other people a quirk. So I gave you a copy of one of the quirks I have. It's called cryomancy, the ability to control ice. She thinks about this and says, wow, that's awesome. Can you show me how it works? Deku makes a snowflake in his hand and says, like this. She tries to do the same, and she does. Turns out she has a very high adaptability to ice. Deku thinks to himself and says, it might look weird if we got the same exact quirk. So Deku gives her another quirk called Ice and... let's go with that. He gives her an evolved form of quirk called static electricity. She now has electricity manipulation. She can summon a bolt of a spear made of lightning and use it as a throwing weapon, or she could just zap people with lightning. Like a Kamehameha wave, yeah. Let's say it evolved into energy manipulation, so it's lightning mainly. Yeah, so she gives him that quirk and says that his mother had that quirk. And that they're now sisters and brother. So he tells her that she'll be attending a preschool in the morning, and that he'll fill out the paperwork. He does, and the next morning she goes to a preschool and tells everybody that her quirk is ice and lightning. No, aurora light. Yeah, let's go with aurora light, because it's the Arctic light. And Arctic light sounds like Arctic lightning. Yeah, it's called aurora lightning. Everybody's amazed by this and says, you have such a cool quirk. And because of that, she trains really hard, and she becomes the top of her class. She is now smart man. She's a smart girl. This is what she looks like when she's at school. And that day, Deku went to the UA entrance exams. Since it's at 18 minutes, we're gonna continue to the UA exams. He walks in, sits down, doesn't say a word. And when Bakugo walks up, he freezes his tongue. That way Bakugo can't talk. Deku does the written portion of the test and gets the highest score. He even points out that Newton's laws aren't fully correct for some of the equations. He proves some of the most controversial theories of science in a mere test. So Nezu's thinking, even if he fails the combat exam, we're putting him in support course. But if he could ace this too, he thinks he probably has an intelligence-based quirk like me. So no matter what, we will pass him into our school, whether it be as a support course student or a hero course. But most likely he's going to be in B. So now we go to the combat portion of the test. During the combat portion, he's preparing. 1 second. So during the, I'm gonna switch pictures. Sorry about that. I had to go downstairs for a second. Let's go with this picture. Okay, so during the combat portion, Deku uses a skill he learned while practicing called cryo field. So Deku uses a small bit of, let's say, strength enhancement and runs around the entire arena using cryo field. It freezes every robot that comes within a 15-yard radius, and it does not affect humans. So Deku gets the highest score in the test because he smashes the robots as they freeze. And that is the end of this video because I'm hungry. It's 1 in the morning. It's 2 o'clock, and I'm about to post this video. So goodbye. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and guess I'll see you Saturday. Bye, demons. Duel out. This was the ASMA channel. If you've watched this long, I'm surprised I'm still recording. Bye.